Well, Ferrial Adam is an environmental justice activist at Watercan and at Outer. She joins us now. Ferrial, good afternoon to you. I mean, we know at the moment that we have enough water in the Vaal Dam river system and most of the river systems simply because of the really heavy rains we've had over the last 2 years. The question, of course, in Gauteng is what happens after it gets into the dam. All sorts of things seem to happen to it there, and it seems that sometimes this water isn't as plentiful or as safe as it should be.
Good afternoon, Stephen. Yes, you are right. I think it's both of that in terms of safety, in terms of high levels of E. coli in our water, and as well in terms of getting the water from the dams and pumping up to reservoirs has become quite a challenge, in particular in Gauteng, and that is why we're seeing a lot of water shedding that's already started in large parts of the city of Joburg.
You talk about E. coli, and let's be clear, that's the scientific name for sewage. Why is there so much sewage in some of our water sources? I mean, where is it coming from that it ends up in rivers and dams?
Right. So, I mean, I've listened to the insert that both the minister and the deputy minister have obviously said some very, very good things. And I do think that at a national ministerial level, there is some kind of movement within the Department of Water and Sanitation to fix things. But the challenge is that a lot of the implementation is at a local government level. And at a local government level, we are finding the leaks, we are finding wastewater treatment works that are just not operating, and there's sewage being pumped directly into rivers and streams. So, people have been saying that local government at this point is the biggest polluter of our rivers and streams because of the amount of sewage that is being pumped into these resources. And we cannot afford to do that, given that we are a water-scarce country.
So, I mean, there's so many different things that keep happening here. Can we hold people responsible for treating our water in this way? And I don't know who those people would be. I mean, we all remember the poor SANDF soldiers who had to dig the Mfuleni sewage pump out of sewage. I mean, I don't even know how that happens.
No, it's exactly that. And I think that is something that we as Watercan are doing. I don't know if you know this, but today is International Day of Action for Rivers. And, previously there was an article done by the Mail and Guardian which estimated that we have 50,000 liters of sewage that's flowing into our rivers per second. So if we continue in this way, we're going to kill full ecosystems. And today we did some tests last week, and we released the results of the Klein Yukske, where it has extremely high levels, over 100,000 in terms of the E. coli count, which basically is raw sewage in our rivers. And we can't afford to kill off those systems. And one of the things we're going to do is exactly that question is, who do we hold accountable? So we want to lay criminal charges at the municipal manager level, because we think that the buck has to stop somewhere. Someone has to take responsibility for the state of our water resources in South Africa.
Once the sewage is in the water, how difficult is it to fix after that? And it may be sewage, because of Mfuleni at the Hartbeespoort River, it's water hyacinth, which is one of the major problems. Once it's in, both sewage and water hyacinth, very difficult to get out.
Well, you can get it out because if you're gonna use that water for drinking, you're gonna take it through to the water treatment plants, right? Which it will cost more to clean, but you can do it. The other thing is, as you said, is if you leave it ongoing, you then get your hyacinth, you get other kind of things where there's just no insects, no frogs, the whole ecosystem, the plants start dying off. And that is hard to then, to come back from that. And I think we're at a tipping point so that if we go beyond the point, we are going to kill those river ecosystems. And so I think we need to start acting much faster. But like I say, for drinking, they can still send it to a water treatment plant and use a lot more money to clean it, but it can be done chemically.
Is there a shortage of skills and resources to do all of this? I mean, I'm not sure that councils actually have all of the water engineers and the hydrologists and the chemists and all of the people they need to sort this out.
So, yes, we do have a shortage in some of the municipalities, and that is a concern as well. I think that we have a shortage of skills, But some of the issues are not because of the shortage of skills. It's mismanagement, it's misuse of funds. You know, in terms of maintenance, we need to spend at least 6 to 8% of the cost of our assets on maintenance. And I think Rand Water spends 0.25%. So we're not doing enough to actually keep things going.
Within all of this, I mean, there can be other things. The Vaal Dam, because of the river, I think is 109, because of the water coming through from La Nina, etc., I think is 109%. Are people checking these dams to make sure they're structurally safe? I mean, I know they were built to last, but we're putting a lot of water in them.
Yes, and there was a report that was released last year by the Auditor General which talked about dam safety and that it's actually in a very, very poor situation. So there's, I think, the total of about 5,000, and government owns quite a few of the dams. And of that, they found 2 that had done safety measures. Of the rest, there weren't any. They weren't at, safety was not even an issue looked at. So I think it is a concern. If we look at last year where we had 2 mine dams that, sludge that burst, we have to have an audit of our dams, whether it's private or government owned, to make sure that they're actually safe in terms of what's happening with the heavier rain and being over the top.
So, Ferrial, I mean, it's one thing for the Minister of Water Affairs and the Deputy Minister to talk about water. I think they only control, 20 of the dams in the country. The rest all come from councils. And isn't this the problem? That, let me generalize, but in most councils, if a council manages something in most parts of the country, you're going to have problems. And this takes us then to the structure. Do we need to do this another way? And yet, I wouldn't be that keen on taking powers away from a council, because then you're taking water further away from the community that it's supposed to serve.
So that is the challenge, and I agree with you. You don't want to take it further away from the community, but, Stephen, you can put into place much better enforcement and better checks and balances so that the Department of Water and Sanitation can hold these municipalities accountable. And that needs to happen. So, for example, the Department of Water and Sanitation is taking Sasol to court for pollution, right? Why can't it do the same with local government?
Ferrial
So
Adam.
there has to be some checks and balances in place.
Ferrial Adam, thank you. An environmental justice activist at Water Can and at Outer.